Hello, 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 and welcome to Accra Esports Talk. Is with me, Kwesi Hayford, right from Ghana, West Africa, Accra to be precise. And today we have a special guest coming online. And he has been to Ghana before. I mean, he has a relationship with Ghana. We've done some stuff with Ghana, but today is going to be mind blowing. He's going to share everything. I have serious questions to ask him. So let me bring him on stage. Okay, Greg, you are welcome.
Hey, what's happening, man? And wait a minute, serious questions. You didn't give me any of these beforehand, so it's going to be interesting for sure.
Oh no. I mean, it's going to be questions that you know about. I mean, questions that you can easily answer. So don't worry about it. How are you doing, Greg?
Listen up. Good, man. I'm not worried about anything. You shoot out whatever questions you want. I'm here to answer and definitely have some fun for sure. I miss you, Kwesi.
Oh, we missed you. We missed you so much. I mean, when you came down, we had some great times. Remember the Republic Bar and the food and the jollof rice and the chicken?
Yeah, are you kidding me? Of course. It's funny. I was just texting a friend of mine. The guy is pretty big in a few different industries, not only in the gaming, but on the skate side of it. And we thought of something. This had to be now 6 years ago. And we're just texting back and forth, and now it's coming to fruition, right? So it's always a matter of right time, right place. So even though I was in Ghana a few years ago and said I'll be right back, I wasn't right back, but man, I'm coming for sure. It's just going to be the right time, right place, and it's getting there.
Damn, amazing. Okay, let's just move straight into action, Greg. You've done some wonderful work. I mean, in esports, pros versus GI Joe and all that. That concept was wonderful. But back then, we want to go back to your childhood. Okay, then the question is, how was your childhood like with games?
You know what? My childhood was all about food, man. I was that kid that ate a lot, so I stayed in the house a lot. We did go out and we played wiffle ball and stuff, but we always came home to the Nintendo. Super Mario Brothers was big. I remember the Christmas that my parents gave me the opportunity to either have a Nintendo or a Sega. So I got to play both games. I played this Kung Fu game on the Sega, but then the Nintendo was so big and it had Super Mario Brothers and all these other great games. So I chose the Nintendo and it just went from there. So video games was always a big part of my life. Not so much on the competitive side. Listen, I'm still a button smasher, right? No matter how big I am in the gaming space, I still smash those buttons, right? So I never made it to the pro level, but it's always kind of been a part of my life in some way. And then I kind of fell into it in a much bigger way about 15 years ago when we created the nonprofit Pro vs. GI Joe.
All right, amazing. Greg, you were into sports, right?
Yeah, again, when I was young, I was into food. So I loved the food. So sports wasn't a big thing. But when I became 11, 12, 13 years old, got into sports, started playing football in high school, played for D1 school, West Virginia, playing football. A lot of my friends went into the pros. So, yeah, very sports oriented. Now my kids are very into sports, and I try to keep healthy. I just got back from the gym, so 45 years old. I know I still need to be at the gym working out just so I can stay healthy. But yeah, always
Amazing.
into sports. But now the great thing about video games is video games and sports. It goes hand in hand when it
Amazing.
comes to especially athleticism.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, you and your kids and sports anyway. Let's move on to another stuff. But share with us, how has it been to transition? Okay, let's start. Let me backtrack a bit. How did you get into gaming and esports? And then you
So
founded the GI Joe.
yeah, so we were looking for just a way to give back to the military. At this point, it was say we're in 2007, so United States was obviously going into Iraq at the time, and we just wanted to give a way to give back. So yeah, I put together Pro vs. GI Joe where we connected troops overseas with professional athletes. We had pretty good relationships here at home with professional athletes on the NFL and the NBA side, and it just worked. We were the first ever organization to even bring online gaming to the guys in Iraq, which obviously in Iraq the internet is not really up to par. Had really good connections in the Pentagon, so they allowed, crazy enough, allowed us to open up certain ports in Xbox to allow for the video game play, and it just worked, right? It was troops playing professional athletes here at home, connecting on video games, and that connection through video games is way different than any other experience that you can have with a professional athlete. So it worked out really well. And it's been 15 years since we've been doing that, and still do it today. Did the Philadelphia Eagles just a few months ago, but we continue to do that with our sports teams. And this is before esports was even a thing. And esports wasn't even a concept. I think there was a few League of Legends events going on, but esports, the term, I don't even think was even a thing back then.
Amazing. I mean, the concept we try implementing it here in Ghana, but I know the bureaucracy that it is. You and I met the PRO of the army. I mean, I think they're still interested about it, but it will take time for them to really grab the concept of the military man playing with professional players and all that. But I mean, that's an ongoing project between me and you, so we keep on
That's
working on
right.
it. Yeah, I mean, so the concept of GI Joe, right? Um, how did it come back? Came to you? Was it like in a dream one day? You sitting there like, damn, I wish like our military guys will play professional games. How did it
Yeah,
come to you?
You know what? It was just trying to figure out a way to give back in just a more relaxed way. Again, and I'm sure it's the same all over the world, but the military gets, whether it's a concert or professional athletes or celebrities going over, and they're considered usually handshake tours, or you don't really have any kind of personal interaction. In general, right? This is not only in the military, but in general, fans typically don't get the like really personal interaction, and everything that I do is very personal. So I typically don't even do anything in business unless I know who
Who
your
you are
kids'
dealing
names
with.
are. So yeah. So personal relationships are really big to me, and video games was that one thing that kind of makes things personal, regardless if you're a stranger or not. So you grab a controller with a stranger, and within 5 minutes, you're almost like buddies with them, right? It's that video games kind of breaks down those barriers of that quote unquote stranger, and it just makes almost like a friendship right away. And now it could be a friendship during the game, and outside the game it's nothing. But during that gameplay, when it comes to a video game, no matter who you're playing, you kind of have a certain bond, and that's what video games does. So tried it out, worked out really, really well, and I'm here on the video game space ever since. So it's kind of it was one of those things that worked out really, really well to where it built me to where I am now in the gaming space.
Amazing, 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 amazing. Greg, share with us what you think will be the future of gaming, especially for us, for those of us in Africa. I mean, I know you have a passion for us here, and because of that, you actually took a trip and came down here.
Yeah. Funny enough, I didn't even know that I needed certain shots. I remember being on my couch with you, going back and forth, and I remember asking a few sponsors to sponsor events, and I got one answer from an actual friend of mine that was pretty big in one of the companies, and she said to me that they would give equipment, but in terms of sponsorship, they're not going to sponsor, because there's no return, right? There's
Yeah,
not there. A lot of people aren't going to buy a $250 headset. So that gave me. I remember talking to you that day, and I was like, "Screw it, I'm coming." Right? On my own dime, I'm going to come. We're going to make this happen. I've always been really big on the content side, and now with esports, how that space is right now here in the United States, I think Africa, and this is one of the things that we can talk offline. But I think you guys in Africa in general have an unbelievable opportunity to kind of raise the stakes and show even us here in the States how to do things, right? Because it's esports is definitely on the decline, right? And it's on the decline not of so much people playing the games or competitive esports, but how to capitalize on it, right? So content is really, really king here, and on the competitive esports side. I mean, losing a ton of money. Bigger organizations, whether it's Optic Gaming, FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves, all these complexity, they're all losing a ton of money on the esports side, but they gain their money on the content side. So if we can figure out something where we really grab hold and Africa shows us the way on the content side to really bring up that esports side, I think we have such a good opportunity, and you guys have such a good opportunity to kind of show us the way, because we try to pave the way, right? The United States try to pave the way, and there, of course, China on the League of Legends side and a few other games, are doing an incredible job. Here in the United States, we try to put a lot, well, not we, because there's a lot of companies that put a lot of money into competitive esports, whether it's the Call of Duty League, the Overwatch League, and that money has gone nowhere, right? Put on fancy tournaments, but in terms of the ROI and how to move the space forward, it's kind of dwindled in such a massive way. So now, if Africa, we can figure out something where we really grab hold of the content and the streaming and building the characters, and then build that up to where the esports is on another level, I guarantee all the teams here in the United States would take the example of what's going on in Africa, do it here in the States, and it's going to raise that esports side of things here in the States in a much bigger way, all with an Africa kind of flair to it, which I would love to help make happen, and I think we have the opportunity to make that happen for sure. Timing is perfect right now.
timing is perfect. I mean, we've spoken at length about storytelling, the African esports ecosystem, and even exactly as you are saying that we have the greatest opportunity to tell our story and tell it in a unique backgrounds, the story about the players, their background, where they're coming from, and even the challenges that they are going through. That is the content that people want to hear and see, especially from an African point of view. So is you are right on point in saying that we have the best opportunity to show the world how to make esports, because as when it comes to the competitive side of things, like there's always a tournament management platform you can use to organize your tournament, the normal designs and stuff. But when it comes to the storytelling side, we haven't grabbed that opportunity. And I also believe that content is king, and content is what will go out to the majority, right? Majority
Yeah.
can't play the game, but majority can receive the game, receive the content which everybody wants to see. So you're right on point. I mean,
And-
we spoken about length about telling the stories of, because you remember when you came down and we had these guys come into the small studio and we hold the tournament there. You could see them on their faces, and they still ask me, when is Greg coming down? And I said Greg will come down at the proper time.
yeah.
So I know some of them are watching. What message do you have for them?
Man, let's go, right? Again, the importance of storytelling is big, right? And I always think about that event on a few different levels, right? It's these guys are there for 10 hours. I remember reaching in my bag, typical American, I'm reaching in my bag, having a bar of chocolate or, a protein bar every 3 minutes because I'm starving and no one else is eating, right? I'm like, come on, this is because they're gaming, right? It's a big, big thing for us. It's that storytelling. It's how people, but nobody knew that was going on. And one thing for me is over the past 15 years, I've done events with the biggest athletes and celebrities in the world, right? We did one event with Activision where we had four of the best NBA players: Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, Westbrook, who else was there? Westbrook, Love, Bosh, and someone else, and Exhibit, right? But I never pushed it out, right? I never told that story. So that was a fault of mine. So I realized from my mistakes that the story can be told, right? It needs to be told in order for people. So people need to hear what was going on that day, right? And in order to do that, we have to have a camera. Everybody there has to be ready to tell that story, be comfortable in front of that camera, because that's what's going to push all that stuff out. I got to be honest, and I'm sure people here in the States, if they're watching this, they're not going to love it, but we're divas here, right? The gamers here, especially on the professional level, they're as diva as you can get, as you can be, right? The gamers are more on the celebrity diva side than athletes, celebrities are, right? So you don't have that in Africa, right? There's no, it's everyone's as modest as you can get. They just want a game, and that's where we need to get back to. But we need to tell that story, right? That story keeps being needed. So everyone that's going to be at those events that we had a few years ago, they need to get on camera on a weekly basis, consistent basis, and tell those stories. And then it'll help me like push that out, get it going. But that content, I can't stress enough. That content is so big to make to move that kind of that pendulum the right way to where we can build Africa esports and gaming in general. Esports is a whole other side of things, but gaming in general, we need that content. So whoever is out there that wants to start building these channels and making their content names and characters out there and for the world to see and those stories to be told, we need to get that done and get that done right, because you guys have the best stories, and it definitely moved when I got there, and still, on a daily basis, I think how we can start getting this really, really rolling. And I think the time is now where content, especially here, is just so massive. If we can get that going, and people are ready to get in front of those cameras and show those characters and show that passion, I think, man, we could do such a big thing.
Amazing. I mean, Greg, the one of the things that I mean, you've shared is well, the content is one of the things, but um, before that, you made mention about the fact that um, big corporations are losing money because they're not getting returns on the this thing. What is it that is causing that? Is it that within the esports space or the gaming space, they haven't really tuned into what are the needs of the players, or the concept, or they envision something too big that they sponsor and they don't get returns? What is this that big corporations are losing money in esports?
So it's when I talk about returns, I'm talking about sales, right? So they're putting a ton of money into, just say, the Overwatch League. Overwatch, they spent so much money, or naming rights on arenas and big arenas and all that stuff. They're putting so much money, but it doesn't convert into sales. So especially, again, this is back then, so it might have changed a little bit. And we got to change it a lot more, and that's where the content will come into play. But when it does come to where people in Africa can buy a certain amount of dollars for a headset, but it once that content is out there and they can get a return, because they're all looking for sales, right? It's sales are what is going to move that dial, right? It's going to be what puts money into Africa when they can actually get sales. So if people are buying certain headsets or buying certain computers or the laptops or the Xboxes, wherever the sales are, is where they're going to put money into. So if they can see that they're going to put money into, a content studio, like we always talked about, right on that main road in Accra, right? I
Yeah.
still see that building up there that we want, all glass. We need that studio out there. But once sales can come from that, to where it's they put $50,000, $100,000 into it, which we could do a ton with that money. If it converts into sales, once we make these companies realize that that can convert into sales, then we got them all day long. But it's all, these companies do care about sales, right? And unfortunately, that's what moves the dial, especially now because the companies lost so much money, all companies, on supporting and sponsoring esports, just because the conversion rate in terms of sales hasn't been there. So if we could do it there, you could do it anywhere, right? It's a matter of, that's where we need to start. So it's all a matter of figuring out what would convert into sales and how we can convert a sponsorship into sales, so they renew and give us another $100,000 for the following year, or even $50,000, whatever the case is. We just got to make it known wherever the dollars come in for that studio or whatever it is. If we can convert those dollars into sales for them, then we have them on for the long term. So it's all a matter of sales for the companies.
I believe so too. I mean, companies that I deal with most of the time will go like, what are the numbers? How many um, people will buy their product and stuff like that. It is everywhere. Everybody's trying to look to gain a margin, even if they are sponsoring, because they're not going to put in that kind of money. They want a return, and that has been even companies that we've done activation for. It is either in to activate a product that they are launching, if they will do anything, or is to get them a little bit mileage on a product they are releasing. So in effect, it is part of the budget for marketing and communication. But we go to them and say, okay, you could use esports. They will use esports because esports will bring the young people to one place together, and then they can then push their brand as for mileage in terms of. So for an esports entity in Ghana or in Africa looking to attract bigger sponsors, I believe the way to go is to be able to package yourself and give it out. This is how much, or this is to the extent of mileage I'll give your brand in return for this amount of money. So is them correct, Greg? The last time you were here, we did no, we did an and we did a streaming seminar for girls. You remember?
Yes.
Yes, and
Yep.
we even did a presentation and stuff like that where we wanted them to be confident in front of the camera, and build them. And that community of female gamers still exists anyway. What is your perception? One of the questions, let me come back. One of the questions was on cyberbullying for girls, and you made a profound statement about that. Do you remember? And can you talk a little bit about um, um, female gamers being bullied or cyberbullying?
Yeah, well, I don't know about how many statements that I make are profound by any means, but I do, not only on the girl side, but just we try to do a lot with underserved communities, whether it's African American communities, Black communities, all the communities here, and the thing that we found, which is very very unfortunate, is you take we were going to do something in Bayonne, right? So unfortunately, racism is real, right? And it's brutal. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me, but it is real. And even more so over the last few years here in the States, right? Unbelievable. So same thing on the girl side, right? That cyberbullying, you girls and minorities here, their racism is a real thing here. So they're getting it on the streets, anywhere in everyday life. The problem is when you're streaming, it's even worse, right? Because then you have those bullies that are behind their computer and they think they can say whatever they want and get away with it. They say it on the streets, they might get a pop in the nose, right? So they might be more reluctant to say it on the streets. On the computer, when it comes to streaming, people say anything. So racism is just unbelievable. Bullyism is just crazy on the computer. So you're gonna, unfortunately, we're teaching and trying to move people into a space where they can potentially get bullied even more, right? But so that's the unfortunate side of what we're doing. But in order, we think that's important to get them there, even though they're going to have to deal with that, which is real. Which fortunately, in this day and age, maybe in 5-10 years, it's not going to be a thing. Right now, it is, but we think it's important for not only girls but just minorities, even though they're going to get that racism, all that stuff, more so on the computer. We think it's important for them to do it, to kind of start bringing that stuff down. So with girls getting on the computer, yes, they're going to hear some really negative stuff, and it can affect certain people more than others. We don't want that to happen at all, but it's a reality, right? But that shouldn't keep us and women and minorities away from that. Because if it does, then that just takes the whole space, this amazing space, out of the equation, just because of some bullies, right? And when it comes to bullies, I have a hard time. I was bullied as a kid, right? I remember running to the candy store and calling my brother, "Hey, there's someone outside that's going to beat me up." I've been there, right, on some level, and it's tough. They're always going to be there, but in order to kind of figure that out is to just deal with it, figure out a better way to deal with it. The great thing about streaming now is if you become a pretty good, you have a good community around you, those bullies don't even exist, right? They'll try to bully you, and that community will just tear them down, right? And once a bully is teared down, they run to someone else, right? So it's really a matter of, on the women especially, they're going to get it, right? So if we can get a good community, and I think the men, especially in Africa, have a really, really good opportunity to kind of take a back seat, let the women go first, but then protect them, right? Be on their streams, protecting them from bullies and all that stuff. And then it's all going to come together, right? So it's a matter of just building a community that takes care of their own. So when the bullies do come on the streams and they're doing their typical bully stuff, we just break them down. So the community in general just gangs up on them, gets them out of the stream, and then we move forward. So once we can take that bullyism stuff out of the equation, I think it's a really, really important thing to just keep moving despite all that stuff.
How, um, what is the how do I say this? You worked a little bit. You worked. I won't say a little bit. You worked, done some work in underprivileged communities. How do we go about it with gaming in helping communities pivoting on gaming?
Yeah, that's our passion right now, right? It has been for the last 5 years. We created ROI Collabs. my partner and I have been really, really focused on underprivileged communities, and it's every color, right? It's just people that don't get, they're underserved, right? So there's these big companies are not coming in for them because they don't think they're going to spend $200 on a headset. So you think about kids in Chicago, the streets of Chicago. We're starting a new tech ed program with the NFL next week. And it's right in the middle of South Central LA, right in the middle of Watts. So we're hitting kids that don't necessarily have the opportunities in the new tech ed space. Same thing in gaming, right? We got to get these kids because they're number one, the kids on the street in underserved communities, they have the best character. They're the best characters in the world, right? They have the best personalities because their personalities are what's going to get them out of the streets, right? Out of where they're living. And they have the opportunity to do that in gaming. So how can we take that and give them the opportunity, give them the kind of tools to use, right? So gaming is a thing. Whether or not they have an Xbox or not, we can get them that kind of equipment in order to do it. But we got to teach them. Okay, you love gaming. You're in the streets. Let's get you. Let's get you building some content. Let's get you going. There's so many opportunities, and then there's so many opportunities in that space. So yeah, the underserved communities are where we want to be, and that's the main thing is it's because there's not enough people doing it, right? In the military, that's great. There's a lot of people doing it. When it comes to underserved, people talk about it, but there's not a lot of action. So we're all about making action. And again, even next week, we start a whole new tech ed program, with a company called the Beehive and the LA Rams and the NFL. And we started on Tuesday, and it's right in the middle of South Central LA.
Amazing. Greg, you're doing great. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit about gaming and parenting because I know you have kids. And then we come back, we'll talk we'll take some questions from the stream. And then, I'm excited to talk about gaming and parenting because I know you have some kids. And then I think we can also talk about sponsorship. How do we get sponsors? I know that's one of the questions that a lot of people ask. How do we get sponsorship? And how do we?
We're gonna get it
back? Yeah. So we'll take a quick break and we'll go for a commercial break. When we come back, we're still with Greg Zinone, founder of Pros versus GI Joe and other stuff. He has a lot of accolade under his name, but you know what? We'll come back very soon.
Good days of competitive gaming, socialization, seminars, and many more, the maiden edition of Accra Esports Week came to an end at the Accra Mall Food Court. The Accra Esports Week was brought to you by Pop Out and Esports Academy in partnership with Esports Association of Ghana, Joy Prime, and My Joy Online. The event saw top esports athletes in Ghana compete on the final stages in various video games such as FIFA 23, eFootball, NBA 2K23, and Frozen, with over 20,000 Ghana cedis in pot prizes.
Hi, welcome to the VGA Esports Show. And it's amazing how we've all gathered here today for the Accra Esports Week. Since Monday, we've been bringing you back-to-back esports action. It's been non-stop from every genre of gaming you can think of. And I'll be speaking to a few people to get their views on what the week has been like. I've got my first person here, Vespa.
Hi.
How has the week been?
Wow, it's been terrific. It's been exciting. It's been something I haven't witnessed yet. I may want to call it unprecedented. Of course, it's the biggest ever esports experience in Africa, comprising over 12 games. In fact, it's been exhilarating, and I really had fun with this.
What are you expecting from a final? Do you expect it to be as good as it was or even better?
Now, this final is going to be crunch, trust me. I mean, particularly with the FIFA, we are going to be playing from the quarter-final stages, and trust me, all those final 8 players, they are tough. They are among Ghana's best, Ghana's favorites. There's the big ups in there. There's Prince Jonas in there. There's Sule Habib. The only person missing out is the only Wonder Kid, but it looks like right now he wants to retire into, some legendary status, so we'll excuse him. But of course, with NBA, we have 2 of the best in the country. We have DT coming up against Terry, and of course, the sim racing super races right there. So in fact, we are poised for a lot of action today. I'm just reserved, waiting to see how the energy will rise up very soon when we kickstart.
Hello, guys, and you're welcome back to Accra Esports Talk. This is the talk forum and the conversation forum where we have chit chats with our personalities and global personalities across the world. And today we have our good friend and our brother, our father, I don't know what to say. But anyway, we have him on live here at Accra Esports Talk. And the hashtag is Accra Esports Week. We're still continuing the week, Greg. So we just celebrated our Accra Esports Week. We did about 12 gaming titles. 12. It's never been done. And then we did NBA 2K, we did FIFA, we did Mortal Kombat, we did Frozens, we did Gran Turismo, we did PUBG, we did Apex. Damn, and it was like every day has a game to. It was great. It's never been done. It was tiring, and I know let me recognize our partners. Or the Accra Esports Week is brought to you by Pop Out in partnership with Esports Academy, in association with the Esports Association, and with My Joy Online, My Joy Prime, in partnership also with Play Province, Otium, and the Ghana Esports Federation, and then Motherland Gaming, and then other partners. If I didn't mention your name, it's not that I don't want to mention your name, because it's all there. You go to our social media, you'll find it there. Anyway, and then we have a few people watching. I think I could see Maximox. Maximox is the founder of Pop Out. He's our CEO and big boss. Hello, Maximox. Shout out to you. And then everybody else watching, I could see Sly on Tame, Desta. Oh, damn. If you have a question, please put it in the chat. And if you want to ask Greg something, put it in the chat. Well, before we went for the break, I told Greg that I'm going to ask him parenting and gaming. Greg, your views on parenting and gaming.
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with a lot of parents here, right? My kid's a gamer, right? And a lot of parents here have issues with their kids gaming all the time, right? They think it's the worst thing in the world. And my question is, to those parents, I think it's the worst thing in the world. Have you ever just sat down and watched your kid play? Number one, watch his hands, right? Watch his or her hands, right? Those fingers are moving more than they move on a football field, soccer field. Like those fingers, that brain activity. We did something with the Seattle Seahawks and NFL team here. Talked to their scientist up there, and just talking about gaming and how gamers interact and their brain activity. And their brain activity in a gamer, even the scientist said it, are way more than even their own professional athletes, which are the best in the world, right? This is the Seattle Seahawks. And these are the scientists that say it. So what I say to the parents is, just sit down and watch your kids game, right? It's not only what they love doing, so you should be, active in what the kids love doing, regardless of what it is. If it's gaming, sit down and watch them, right? And when it comes to everything else, it's not just a game, right? These kids are learning, whether it's hanging out with somebody in Africa that you never knew and meeting somebody online, right? That friendship. My kid has friendships that he built on video games and never saw the kids before, and he has really good friendships with the kids. So it's friendships, but also that brain activity from video games. It blows any kind of sports out of the water. So there's really positives to it. A lot of parents, unfortunately, they don't have They don't want to see the positives, and they don't even allow them to let themselves see the positives in gaming. But if they just sat down, relaxed a little bit, I know it's not what they may have grew up on, but if they just relaxed and say, okay, we're in a different world. Tech is a whole new thing. It's bringing us to a different level. And these kids can grow from it and actually have a much better living than even the parents, right? They can, whether it's money or just happiness, and video games brings that. I tell the parents, sit down and just relax. It might not be your thing, but if it's your kid's thing, just sit down and watch them a little bit, and you might have a whole change of mindset.
Amazing.
Yeah, my kids are big gamers. My kids are big. I mean, my little girl is 11 years old. She's on Roblox all the time. And, my kid plays, just pretty much every game, Rocket League to Apex, Call of Duty, and I think it's such a positive thing. Now, of course, there's balance. You want them outside playing as well. But you just got to have a balance. But this is their thing, man. This is how their kids are growing up. And they're going to make a big living out of it. I think if kids aren't on video games and aren't on their mobile phones, if parents that think this is the worst thing in the world, if they're not on it, they're going to be surpassed in 10 years when they actually get out in the real world if they don't know how to function with this thing. So definitely a positive thing, but just got to balance it.
Amazing. Greg, the biggest question, how have you gone? How have you been able to get sponsorship for your event? How have you done that for gaming?
Yeah,
secret code, secret code in getting a sponsor. What do you say? How do you go about it?
So we've been very, very, very fortunate that we kind of fell into something that had a lot of professional athletes, had a lot of visibility on the military side. People were giving money on the military side. So we got, we had Activision on board for a big sponsor, EA, all the companies. We kind of moved away from that. We are looking for, sponsors and stuff. That's always a thing, but we've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of celebrities, MMA guys, music artists that are always doing, we have really close relationships with a lot of them. So we do have that kind of special sauce for sponsors. But it comes down to what kind of events are we going to do, right? And it's like, I guarantee if we actually get a studio up and running on that main street in Ghana, the sponsors, I can pull in sponsors left and right. It's just a matter of getting that going, right? And I can take that, and it's just a matter of viewership too, right? A lot of the sponsors even look at me and they give me, I get a foot in the door. There's no doubt that I get kind of moved up and go right to the CEOs, right to the decision makers, for sure. But I also still need to show visibility of what they can get out of the project before they give money. So if we can create something to where that visibility it's a no-brainer for them, I can pull the money out of them. There's no doubt about that. So it's really, seriously, let's build something together. Let's get that visibility. Let's get some characters together, show their personalities, tell that story, get that studio in Accra to where it's not just the gaming. I looked at the commercial and everyone is gaming, right? And of course there was a live feed during that esports tournament, but the personalities that's what we need to get, those personalities online on a consistent basis, in order for me to go out and get that, use my special sauce and get that money to bring it into Accra for sure.
Great. This kind of message of, how do I say, giving back to us in Africa, and that, you've shown that example many times. So my next question will be, Greg, how do you regulate the gaming time of your kids?
This is a hard one for me because I don't look like the best parent in the world, because I typically don't. Right, I think putting on a time limit and stuff. Hopefully, everything that works in a more natural way usually is what's going to be
More
consistent, right?
natural way.
If they naturally just say, "Hey, I want to go out and play basketball," get off the computer themselves, as opposed to me getting them off the computer. Now, again, that's probably not the best. It's probably not in any parenting manual, but I really do believe that if it's not done, and they're 11, 13 years old, right? But even for me, if somebody tells me what to do, it's most likely not going to stick. If I decide to do it for myself, it's going to stick, right? So I do try to let that happen naturally, and I think it will, right? It's the right time, right place, right? So my regulations definitely they're not there, but they have been working. Also, having no regulations and no screen time, it's been working. So right now, I'm definitely fortunate that it hasn't isolated them or anything like that. They took themselves out of that. So those no regulations, those no strings attached, those no screen time. It's been working so far. But I'm always just trying to think, am I doing things the right way? And right now, that's my way, by not having any. And hopefully it'll be self-regulating on their end, which I think is definitely the more natural way. But if I saw a problem starting, I would definitely intervene as their parent, but so far that hasn't been the case.
Oh, well, for me personally, for my kids, I think that the what gaming does is that I always see it as a problem solving ability. So while the kids are playing the games, they are characters and they are disciplines that they are picking from the games. That it even helps you, the parent, because in I said in every video game are instructions, series of instructions, puzzles that they have to do. Some are time bound. So especially those that have time limits and stuff like that, it helps them to really have time management attitude, because they need to complete it in a certain time frame. Other than that, they won't move to the next level. So every game provides an opportunity. When kids begin to play this game, they begin to adapt. Their minds begin to adapt and begin to position them to how to manage their time, how to manage every situation. They have to move on to how to follow orders, you know. And my kids, because yes, they play games, but they also follow orders, because in the game there are orders you need to follow. You get it. And if you don't follow the order, in the game you may die many times and you have to start the game all over again. So yes, I know. When it comes to parenting, every parent and every child is also different. Every child is different, and every needs some special attention to it. You as a parent then have to understand what kind of a child is my child, and what kind of a training will I have to give that child, and even what kind of games, because some children are much more brainier, and they are much more into the academics, right? And you will want to them to go into games that are much more strategy games than sports game. There are kids that loves NBA 2K, FIFA, and others. You see, if their interest is there, they are much more into sports games. And there are those that are also they have affinity to fighting games. They are like my little girl, the last one. She is the the destroyer of things in the house. And she likes the fighting stuff. So I know, okay, this girl she's a hardcore girl. So
Yeah.
I'll give her the Mortal and the fighting game kind of games, but I believe that every kid has their own way. As parents, we need to guide them, we need to supervise and regulate. And I agree with you on that point. So, Greg, sponsorship. Oh, you already spoken about sponsorship, so we need to move on to something else. So let me just check
Yeah,
the
the thing
field.
with sponsorship, there's one thing that they're moving on from sponsorship. Unfortunately, sponsorship is needed, right? So, all the sponsors and companies out there that are listening, and we'll push this out. I hate money. Money. I mean, money is not my thing. I hate it. I think it's the root of all evil. Right. Unfortunately, you need it, right? So but there's so much good that we could do with those dollars. There's companies that are here that making 60 million, $100 million, and there's no good that's being done with those dollars. We could do so much good with so little. But we're also not a quote unquote charity case. Like when you said that we're doing so much for Africa and we have a passion for Africa, it's totally reversed, right? It's not a good thing, right? It's not a charity thing. It's something that we want to do. We want to get back there and do it, but we're not doing it for you. You guys do more for us, right? You put a different mindset in our heads. It's not a matter of, oh, we're trying to look at some do good thing. Not that at all. We learn from you guys. And I think, definitely in the space there, and even my kids, I would love my kids to go over there because we learn from you, but we need the dollars in order to do it. But man, there's so much money there's so much money out there, just got to grab it. But telling the story of why we need it is going to be important. But we'll get them. We'll get them.
Yeah, storytelling is one of the most powerful things in the world, and that's why Hollywood and Disney is still alive, Marvel and all still alive, because they are telling stories.
That's it.
They put the stories anyway. So I'm going on to the stream to check if anybody has a question. Nobody has asked any questions so far. So it seems everybody's okay with all the conversation. That's nice. I mean, we're having a good time with Greg when we've done almost about 45 minutes. So we will have to end it here, and nobody's asking any questions. So, but the good thing is that people will come back to come and watch this over and over again, and that's my joy that we'll be able to have you on this, to have a conversation with you and to talk about you. I mean, the concept of even G.I. Joe versus Joe, it's I keep on asking myself, wow, this is a beautiful concept, and we tried doing that with our Ghana army, hoping that we could bridge that connection with them. And I always say that
Right.
one step at a time, we will get there. That
That's
is
it.
my mantra because I know that when things take time to gel, when it's finally settled, it is forever rather than try
Right.
to do something quick and it breaks. And that also translates into my relationships with people that have stuck with me for a long time because they know the kind of value, the kind of relationship that we have. And I will say that a build on relationship, and I don't really think about the money aspect because
No.
there are relationships that will open doors for me that money can't open those doors. You understand?
That's right.
So it goes into business, it goes into everything. And for me, you are here because of relationship with me. And I can
That's
call
right.
you anytime and I say, hey, jump on this call and you come because that's a relationship, right? If it was
Yep.
somebody
Exactly
else,
right.
hey, they have to pay you like $20,000 before you show up
Yeah.
on that conference.
Yeah.
Anyway, Greg, thank you so much. And we keep on talking. Any last words? Any last words? Oh, the guys I know they will come back to come and watch this. Anyway, some of the guys have traveled. K is in Singapore now, and Ken I think is in somewhere in Europe. And those were some of the guys that we connected with. You remember back here in
I
Ghana,
love
and
it.
for me, their stories empower me because these are young esports athletes. They move out of Ghana and they are doing so well wherever they are. And these are the stories that we want to tell the artists that hey, you can make it, you can go out there and flourish and become whoever you want to become. It's not only becoming a gamer, but the gaming is just a pivot, right? The gaming is just a connection to get higher. So, Greg,
That's right.
what is your last words for us before you go?
Uh, Listen, I just want to get back, right? I just want to get back there, but I want to get back there in the right time where we're actually going to move the needle, right, and make this happen. That how on that main street, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get another backpack, but we're there to build that studio. It's going to happen. We just got to figure out a plan and just get it going. But things happen at the right time, right? You know, we have a lot going on here. We actually love to have you guys a part of what we're doing here. Maybe stream in, have some of the athletes game with you guys and do a lot on that
Yeah.
level. Let's just figure out a plan. I think that'd be fun. Let's just have some fun with it, and then let's just move this thing forward. But I'm always, for anyone out there, right? You know, I'm always accessible. Any questions, any introductions that anybody needs here in the States, I'm more than happy to make them. And I'll be back for sure.
Sure. Greg, you know, we were even thinking about, you remember Ziggy? You introduced me to Ziggy, the footballer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we have
I think
to recycle back and see if what we can do with Ziggy anytime he come to Ghana, if we can do an event with him.
yeah, I'll actually reach out to him. He might be, he's not playing anymore, so he might be in Ghana. His whole family's in Ghana. Also have, you know, a guy here that's in the NFL, still in the playoffs, Eli Apple. His mom is from Ghana, you know, I think from Accra. So potentially get him on board too. He's a big video gamer. I think he's on the Bengals. Hudson, what is Eli on? The Bengals? Eli Apple is on the Bengals. You know, his whole family is from Ghana. So let's do that, right? That's the next step. Let's get one of these guys to game with you guys and just start building the visibility and just have some fun.
Amazing. Thank you, Greg,
Cool.
for joining me today on the Accra Esports Talk. We're gonna keep this conversation going. We want to keep it natural and raw as it is. This is we are. This is me. This is Greg.
That's
It's not
it.
any cosmetics around it. We do what we
Nothing.
do.
Obviously. Cool.
We do what we do. Oh, Greg.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you. Again, anybody ever wants to reach out to me, Kwesi, just make the introductions. Let's just, you know, have some fun with things for sure.
All right. Thank you guys for joining in. And we're gonna say bye bye for now. We've done almost an hour. This is supposed to be like 45 minutes. So thank you for joining. And Greg, God bless you. God keeps you and bless your family, all your children. May He open bigger doors for you. And we looking out for you also. You always know that you have a friend in
Appreciate
us.
it.
Anytime you are in Ghana, you are with us, with the family. All right, guys.
Yeah, I'm coming back for that food too.
The jollof rice, the one that is
Yeah,
pepper.
I'm coming back for it for sure.
Okay. All right, guys.
All
Enjoy
right,
your day.
man.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Yes. Is it? Yeah. We split out. The two one. You know, like it was in Prince thing, so I put it in his polythene bag. I haven't taken it. It was in his small bag with the thread there. And it was in his polythene is within his things. I didn't take it. Oh no. They say yeah, I have my own splitters. I have about 3 or 4 splitters. So I didn't use it. Which one? Yes, I know. The 4-pot one, that is mine. But the 2-pot one, I didn't take it. Yes, I know. But I said that one, I didn't take it because I know it was with Prince things. Yes. So I left it with Prince things. You need a splitter. The splitter, yeah.